So the topic here, I'm sharing my screen already. This is my screen. It says harnessing self-awareness for peak performance in life and in business. And let's delve right into it. Let's go. Good. Self-awareness. I wrote a tragedy in Africa. So self-awareness is the most important topic in the world, I dare say, the most important topic in the world. If you reach the peak of awareness, there is no doubt that you will live a successful and a fulfilled life, regardless of your quality of education or your background, right? And again, he was very, very correct when he opened the meeting with saying that, oh, he was talking about self-awareness as very important too for your success. This is so true. I say it's the most important topic in the world. And this is because the topic of self-awareness borders on identity. Identity crisis is the worst ailment that can happen to any human being. The worst, right? Identity crisis is a lack of awareness of who you are. And you know how it's written in the Bible, it says that my people perish from ignorance, right? And the word perish there does not describe death. The word perish there is a state that is worse than death, because it's a state of a human being who is lost, who is confused, who is not aware of their innate potential or their capacity or their power. It is a state of hopelessness, it's a state of despair, right? And this is all a fallout of identity crisis, which is due to a lack of awareness of themselves and of how they should function in the world around them, right? So that's why I wrote that self-awareness is a tragedy in Africa, because the topic of self-awareness is not taught in schools. It's not taught in schools. In fact, self-awareness in Africa, particularly in Nigeria, let me bring it home because most of us here are from different places in Nigeria. So in Nigeria, the self-awareness is discouraged, because when you are self-aware, you step out with a level of confidence and worth and esteem that people see as arrogance, right? So people see you as overly confident, which is a mild word for arrogance. Your company will never pay you. They'll find you ridiculous if you say, oh, you want to go for a training that has to do with personal development, right? At best, they'll train you on leadership. They'll train you on emotional intelligence, for team building, things that have to be tailored towards a certain output for the company, right? But your self-awareness is the best skill that you need to have in order to perform at your highest and your best self. And corporations abroad get it. That's why I put this slide here of Google, right? They get it. This is Google. Google is reputed for encouraging personal development for their staff, and it has been proven to enhance the performance of their employees, right? The commitment to self-awareness contributes to Google's reputation as an innovative and high-performing organization in the tech industry. And schools get it. The best schools in the world get it, right? Top schools abroad. And they have such topics as this, the science of happiness. Now, the science of happiness is a topic that is taught by a man called Arthur Brooks. He's a professor in Harvard. So in Harvard, in their social science department, they have this course called the science of happiness. Do you see? They have a course called Building Personal Resilience in Yale, in top schools around the world, developing self-awareness. They have topics on managing anxiety and mental health. And I loved when I saw this topic in Harvard school. It says corresponding with busy people. But guess what? These topics, they realize, contribute tremendously to the success of not just the individual, because if an individual is successful, then the enterprise that the individual is functioning in will automatically be successful. Do you see? And they get this. They get it, right? So this sort of learning is what contributes to company performance, their growth, their sustainability. And also it culminates in the industrialization and development of societies and countries. Now, upon my research, I realized that the reason a lot of Africans literally die early, I'm not saying they perish, die an early death, is from a lack of awareness, which is a mild word for ignorance, as we have established. It's true, right? And I happen to come across a staggering statistics from the World Data Bank. These statistics is, I picked up a few countries, right? Is the life expectancy of men and women, and this is 2023, right? So if you look at this life expectancy, if you're looking at this at the screen, the United States life expectancy is at 76 for men and 79 for women. United Kingdom, 80 for men, 82 for women. Nigeria is 52, 53. France, 79.3, the women, 85. Hong Kong, 82. The women, 87. Canada, 80. The women, 84. Singapore, 81, 89. Nigeria, 52. The women close behind, 53. And this is 2023, which is better. In 2019, 2020, if you remember, or if you followed the life expectancy rate, it was at 46 or 47. Loads of Nigerians were dying. Now, at the bottom, I wrote that except for all other countries with low life expectancy in the world, you know, oh no, I can't see my slide very well because of everybody's videos. Now I can't remember. Except for Afghanistan, all the other countries with low life expectancy in the world are actually in Africa. That's what I must have written there. They're actually in Africa, all the countries. And I was wondering, is it a thing with our political terrain, our economic terrain, and that? No, it is not.
I can't hear you again. I don't know, is it my network?
No,
Yeah.
we can hear. I can hear. I can hear. Very
Can you
well.
hear? Okay,
Yeah, we
maybe.
can hear you very well.
I can hear. Yeah.
Thank you. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Right, thank you. So, you know, as you might have noticed here, women all over the world they live longer than men, obviously, right? And I was wondering, just like you, and I don't want to say anything about that because I'm not researching on that, right? That's besides the point. But Nigerian women, I researched, have the worst life expectancy rates than all the other countries in the world. Nigerian women. Nigerian men, second worst. The worst was, I think, Chad, right? And it is crazy. I said, okay, why? What are people dying from? I had to do that research. I said, what are people dying from? And here it is. 89.6% die of hypertension. 28.7% die of dyslipidemia. And I went to research, dyslipidemia is actually a combination of lifestyle factors that result in heart attacks and strokes, diabetes, things that raise your bad cholesterol, your LDL versus your HDL, you know, things like that. That's what is killing Nigerian men and women. The third one, well, women had a slightly different twist because the maternal mortality rate was high. But for men, look at it, alcohol. And all these factors are closely related. These are all illnesses that proceed from lifestyle choices that is caused by a lack of awareness, not of the illness, but of ourselves and how we should function in the world, right? I had to do all this research and even more so that I can lay a solid foundation for our understanding of this seemingly simplistic and overly underrated topic. And it doesn't look to me like a topic that, you know, business people would, you know, I'm not surprised. I would have been surprised that 50 to 100 people gathered, you know, to hear this, because we even had to retweak the title of the topic to include peak performance. So that, because when people hear business, people hear peak performance, they want to be a part of it. Do you see? Self-awareness, we know ourselves, what do you mean? But peak performance, right? Which is unfortunate, is rather unfortunate. Because the things that give you life, that give you longevity, that give health to your mind and your body are actually in the simple things, right? But I'm honored to be serving you, as many of you that are here today with this information, right? So having done that groundwork, let us proceed. Let us continue. Let us continue. Awareness is the foundation of every purposeful, every successful venture. Awareness is the foundation of every successful venture.
Sorry, MJ, you wanted to say something earlier. You said you
About
had to go for a deeper research. Yeah, after this, just to find out more. There's something you wanted to say then.
find out about the
After
cause of death.
Yes.
What is causing such low life expectancy? And this is it
Okay.
that I read out. Hypertension and all these related
Okay.
illnesses.
Okay. I
They are
thought there
all
were more.
lifestyle illnesses that is
Okay.
caused by stress. So alcohol is a stress-related illness if it is killing people. Why? Because it is a way that people use to pleasure themselves. But pleasure is an illusion. Pleasure is the work of hormones that, take you high up and bring you down and sometimes leave you feeling in a worse state than before. In fact, pleasure is addictive because that hormone takes you to a peak that you want to hit. And when it brings you down, it leaves you wanting more. So pleasure is tricky. It's different from happiness. Happiness is a combination of pleasure that translates to memory. And we can talk about all that later, right? But these are lifestyle illnesses that are mostly caused by stress. And we have a lot to talk about today. We'll touch on every single thing and you understand what I'm talking about. So let's move on again. Awareness is the foundation of every successful venture. Every purposeful venture is built on awareness. If it is a business venture, you have to sit with that business before you go into it. You have to learn the intricacies of that business. You have to seek to know the ecosystem of that business, the operating environment. You've got to have business plan, got to have business projections in order for that business to succeed, right? If it's a product that you are creating, you must know the necessary components that are needed in order to make that product work, right? If it's in the arts, you want to make film, like I'm a filmmaker, you must start with a story, dissect, the components of that story. We're talking about the story setting, the plot, the themes of the story. You develop a character and a character Bible. You've got to have knowledge of your pre-production, post-production, and during production. You've got to even have knowledge of the business of filmmaking in order for that film to be successful, right? So success does not happen through luck. Success happens through awareness, happens through knowledge, information gathering. Whether you gather it through your wealth of experience or through education or otherwise, but that's what success is built upon. So awareness is the foundation of every successful venture. And in the same way, self-awareness is the knowledge about yourself, your components, your configuration, your assignment in the world. And I realized that the hardest questions that people ask are the questions that bother around themselves. The hardest research, the toughest research to make is the research that has to do with your life. So what I did was to make it easier for us, right? And I decided to come up with a mindset, help us with the right perspective and give us a mindset that can help us delve into, the study of ourselves. It will begin with a perspective of who you are. And the first perspective is number one, you are a product. Not just a product, a mere product. And a mere product. You've got to say, listen, I'm just a vessel. I am a product. That's who I am, a creation. And I understand that you might be a very important person in your business, the CEO of XYZ, a high flyer, and you're very useful in the world. That's very true. But still, you are a product, you are just a creation. And you cannot be any more useful than to fulfill the function for which you were created. Ouch. I said it, it's true. And you would love me for saying it later on. This leads us to our second point. Every product has a purpose, a task, an assignment. Every product was designed to fulfill an inherent specific function. In other words, you are carrying something that the earth needs. Number three, every product was designed by the manufacturer with features that the manufacturer would love to see being optimized and utilized. We were designed to be optimized and to be utilized, right? Your smartphone that you're using today or your smart TV was made with more features than just phone calls, text messages, using the camera, third-party apps, WhatsApp, social media, and all the things. There are crazy features that are designed in it to make your life easier and sweeter. But your life is harder now because you haven't been curious enough to find out, right, about these features. A friend of mine once took my phone and he was saying, oh, MJ, your phone is really, really good. Let me tell you all the things you can do with your phone. I did not even know that my phone could open multiple tabs. The tricks he showed me with my camera, as in multiple tabs, like on a computer, you know, and it's just this, it's an Android phone, it's a Samsung, it's not a flip Samsung, so don't overthink it. You know, it's a regular phone. But he taught me, he blew my mind away. Optimization speaks to performance. It is gotten from the word optimize. Optimize is gotten from the Latin word optimus. Optimus means best, right? So optimization speaks to best performance, to perform at your best, right? While utilization speaks to capacity, to be utilized, to be used to full capacity, right? Every product was designed and was intended to be optimized and utilized. And that would be the joy and the satisfaction of the manufacturer. Now, the only way utilization and optimization can happen is through awareness. Awareness is the key to utilization and optimization. And awareness happens by curiosity. And curiosity kills the cat, not human beings, right? And I have a slide for that, right? Curiosity killed the cat. I love to say not human beings. What killed human beings? Ignorance, lack of awareness, right? And this is obvious from the stats that I've read, because the Bible would say that you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free, right? Knowledge brings freedom. The more knowledge you have of yourself, the better your quality of life. The more knowledge you have of your business, the better the quality of that business. And the reason a lot of business owners have passed too soon is that they built their businesses or built more knowledge and awareness of their profession, of their businesses. They paid attention to just one aspect of their lives. And this is the cause of stress and early death. And we'll see how. Just keep paying attention to chasing the bag and hustling is a cause of stress. Our lives are created to be lived very holistically, wholesomely. That's the concept of abundance. And we'll get there today. And the last mindset or knowledge or perspective to have of yourself is that every product has a lifespan. So you have a lifespan. I have a lifespan. Even businesses have their lifespan, right? Businesses have, every business has a sunset, or most businesses have sunsets. The sunset of that business is not necessarily the death of the organization. It's just a time when, the organization needs to realize that they need to be agile and nimble enough to pivot, right? It's a transition season. So it can be a sunset of a business. It's not necessarily the death of the organization, right? And that agility will come from awareness. So like every product, you have a sunset. Soon will be outdated in the world and will transition from this part of eternity to the next. So let's hold on to these mindsets because they will form the building block for this session, right? Let me move my slide. I said curiosity killed the cat, not humans, but ignorance killed humans. Walking blind. Okay, you know the truth, and the truth will make you free. The more truth you know, the more freedom. The more aware you become, the more your life becomes free. All right, great, good. So I said, everyone, let me slow down so that we don't get focused on that slide. But let me say something. Everyone wants to be successful. And it's lovely. I don't know, we all want to be successful, right? I'm talking to normal people like me, right? And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But what I'm here to do today is to give you a lot of awareness. And we'll be doing a lot of preamble before we get to the juice. And I'll tell you why, right? My goal is to equip you with the right information that will help you to live a qualitative life whilst you are in your pursuits. Otherwise, it is going to be futility. It's going to be stressful. like Solomon called it, is going to be vanity and chasing the wind. You will never grasp it. And this is a painful scenario, right? To observe that whenever we hit a milestone and we are congratulated for it as Nigerians, we don't accept it. We say, man, you know, easy, they try, no easy, we're trying. For the average Nigerian, nothing is easy at every level. I observed that for the average Briton or Canadian or American, they will achieve the same feats that a Nigerian has achieved, and they'll soak up the achievement. They'll say, oh, I just moved apartments into my dream apartment. When Nigerian will move from one place to the other, you just say, oh boy, you know easy. That's what you hear. Man, we they try, right? We find it hard to soak up our experiences. We don't allow ourselves to fully experience our blessings and our successes. It is very hard to hear a Nigerian say, I am successful. Have you ever thought that you're a successful person? Yeah, it's very hard. So I'm going to do that today. I will show you something, right? I am here to make you see yourself as who you really are, so that you can begin to experience life differently. Don't benchmark it on someone else's success or someone else's achievement. The pressure and demand that you're placed on your life as a high achiever, which is not a bad thing, or your family has placed on you, the society has placed on you, is great. But I want to give you a pathway to life that is not laced with stress and drudgery, right? But with peace, with joy, with love, with fulfillment, right? I said the goal of everyone is to be successful. Most of us here, I'm sure, we're Christians from our names. And if you read Genesis, and I'm going to go back there because it's a very interesting one. God made in fact, let's start from, he says in the beginning, God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw that the light was good. And he separated the light from the darkness, right? And the Bible says that the evening and the morning had come, and that was the first day. God looked back and saw it was good, and he stopped and waited for day 2. And he did this, created the firmament, blah, 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 and God saw that it was good, and he stopped. He gave himself a pat on the back. That is what it is good. It is good. It is good. Give yourselves a pat on, please pat yourself on the back right now and say, I'm doing well. I'm trying. I'm successful. And I'll show you how you're successful. I know a lot of Nigerians don't feel like they're successful, but I'll show you. So let's move now. Purpose. Let's see purpose as a ladder. The ladder of purpose, right? And at the end of purpose is our goal, is our vision. We are here, if you look at my slide, at the bottom of the stairs, the bottom of that ladder. Success is tied to every step that we make and every move, every step we take and every move we make on the ladder of purpose. The problem is with our perception and our interpretation of success. We have interpreted success to be the achievement of a goal. So at the end of that goal makes you a successful person. But that's not true. At the end of every goal or every vision is fulfillment. At the end of every goal and every vision is satisfaction. Satisfaction. Fulfillment is the realization of your goal. That's what it is, right? We have goals, but we define success as an achievement of that goal. But no, a goal is a goal. A goal is like a vision. Our purpose is tied to that vision. Once we achieve the vision, we become satisfied. We hit fulfillment. Fulfillment, to be fulfilled, fully filled, satisfied, right? But success is tied to every step that we take on the ladder of purpose. So when does failure occur? Failure is when we are not on the ladder of purpose. Failure is when we are not in our assignment. That's when we are failing. But as long as we keep inching, in the pursuit, in the place of our assignment, in our purpose, in our calling, then every step we take is a successful step. Remember, day one, let there be light. God said I was good. He rested. And I keep thinking about that scripture. I say, God, wait, could it be that we know God now? With the snap of his finger, he doesn't even need to snap it completely. Or just a breath, the breath of his nostrils. The whole earth would not have come to be. With man in it, everything created, creation made, water, everything. Just with the blink of his eyes or something. But what happened in Genesis 1 is a pattern for our creation. We were made to create. That's why we're in business. That's why we're doing life. We're creating, solving problems. But there's a pattern for that creation. And in order to live, to perform at peak performance, and I'll tell you what peak performance is, in order to operate on that level, we need to follow that pattern. Otherwise, our work would be treacherous. It would be drudgery. It would be our labor. The effort would be stressful. And people would die early deaths. Right? So every phone call that you make, every email you send, the proposals, the doors that you've knocked on, it is inching you. That is inching you towards your vision or your goal is a success. You don't attain success when you hit that goal, you attain fulfillment. So don't mistake failure for transition seasons, right? Our purposes happens in seasons because our lives happen in seasons. To everything, there's a season to every time, a season, a time to every purpose. Our lives happen seasonally. I told you I was doing this. I was actively doing acting. Now I started doing management consulting, doing this and that. It's tied to season, our purposes, right? And sometimes when we're in a transition season, things can seem uncertain and slow. We can be confused, and transitions can be funny, right? So don't mistake failure. Don't ever think that when you're in a transition season, then you're failing. No, it's a transition, right? Every step we take, as long as we are in purpose, is towards the furtherance of our vision, and it's a successful step, right? And when we hit that goal, there's satisfaction. And I know that by now you're like, okay, how do we live this successful life? But like I said, it's very important that we have the right mindset, that we have the right perspective, that we have the right understanding. Otherwise, if I give you tips to live, to work, to operate in peak performance, man, that hack, you might use it all, but sustainability will be a question, right? Hacks are not sustainable if they are not premised upon a mindset. It's not just about the hack, it's about the mindset that you approach that hack with. So this is why a lot of people, weight loss is a good analogy. When they get started on a good diet and a good exercise regimen, sometimes the results begin to show, but for how long? How many times is it sustainable? Those with lasting results, right? Those with lasting results that will put off the weight for many years, they will tell you that it was a mindset issue, a mind shift that occurred, right? That altered their lifestyle and made the hacks work, made their lives easier. So now let's delve into what you want. Yeah? Peak performance, peak performance. Peak performance is high performance. Why? Peak speaks to height, right? When peak performance is when an individual is living in their highest and their best self. I hope my light is not about to go out because I can hear my inverter. So peak performance speaks to when an individual is living at their highest and their best self across the different areas of their lives. Across the different areas of their lives, without compromising any side. It is the understanding that you can and that you should operate the different aspects of your lives as a wholesome entity, that no aspect of your life is inferior or superior to the other. Is understanding that life and business are not actually separate entities, because there is no business without life, right? And there is no business without people. The components of our lives are intricately woven to serve each other, right? So for example, what gives true meaning to your life and your business is your faith. That speaks to your spirit man component. But the driver of all of this is your body, because spirits need jurisdiction. They need a host to operate on the earth, right? So your business is just a part of your life's calling. So is your spirituality, your health, your family, your relationships. And in order to function at your highest and your best self, then you must be able to build a system around your life that causes you to thrive. Now, that system is called AHA. I am not sure. Please, the generator will come on soon. I apologize.
Please go ahead, please.
I don't know.
Go
I
ahead.
think
We can
Yeah,
hear you loud
go
and
ahead. We
clear.
can see
go
you.
ahead, right? Thank you.
We can see
you.
you.
All right. I will just turn off my video so we're not distracted. Okay, great.
No, we're seeing you with your video, please.
Right. Okay. So in order to perform at your highest and your best self, I was saying that you need to build a system around your life that will cause you to thrive. And I'll give you that system today, right? Because thriving is achievable for everyone. Thriving is a state of abundance. Remember, abundance is the reason, and permit me to keep going back to my spiritual heritage. Abundance is the reason that Jesus died, right? He said, I've come so that you will have life and have it in abundance, right? So I'll tell you how to live, how to build that system shortly, right? Let me move my slide further along. Fantastic. So man is spirit, soul, and body. And I was explaining that in order to, man is spirit, soul, and body. And in order to operate at peak performance, then, I'm sorry, I'm moving too fast. We need to prosper on all sides. So this scripture says, and I call it an anchor quote, that dearly beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. There is another beautiful scripture that says, I can turn on my video now. There's another beautiful scripture that says that you will prosper as your soul prospers. Now, what does that mean? It means that the degree to which we'll prosper in the world is the degree to which our souls prosper. And your soul is the seat of your intellect, your emotions, and your will, right? So in other words, you prosper intellectually, you prosper emotionally, and in your willpower. Your intellect speaks to your skill, your competence, and your capacity. The problem here is that a lot of people focus on this, especially business owners. But there is the other component of your soul that speaks to your feelings and your relationships with yourself and with others. With yourself means your feelings, right? And with other people. The problem is, why don't we focus on this? Why? I've heard men say, oh, emotion is a woman thing. Men are not feeling beings. What a lie. What a lie. Do you see the stats? That's why I laid that foundation. Facts. People are dying from stress. Stress is emotionally related. It's the release of cortisol, consistent cortisol into the system. Men are collapsing, heart attacks, coma, right? And a lot of that is caused by suppression. It's caused untimely death in a lot of our men in society. We are all born with emotions. Every second of the day, we are feeling, we are thinking, and we are choosing, whether we realize it or not, right? So it is how much mastery we have gained in the area of our emotions that will determine how we feel, we think, and how we choose or interpret in the world in the best way, because feelings are subjective. So a lot of people focus on their skill and their competence, but it is not a sustainable way. It is not you cannot live a fulfilled and abundant, you can't thrive in that place. So I went speaking somewhere. Well, I've done that in a couple of places. And I say to people, how many of you are familiar with this line? My father used to be rich. When we were small, we used to have money. When we were in secondary school, we used to have money. And then when you say, what happened? You hear stuff like, maybe he lost his job, we lost money, our business went down. You hear stuff like that, right? And I ask, why? What happened? Yes, your father was in his 40s, late 30s, 40s, 50s. And then he lost his job and he became poor. Lost money, and that was it. Why? It's simple. They paid attention to their professional development. They were chasing the bag, hustling. It was all about building skill, their competence, their this on their job. And the day that thing was swept under, they got lost in the world. They couldn't find themselves. They couldn't pick up themselves because that's a lopsided growth. So in order to prosper, you must have complete knowledge, mastery of yourself. You will prosper as your soul, as your emotions prosper, as your relationship with people prosper, as your feelings prosper, and as your competence prosper, right? So that is it. Now I'll take you to what I call the flow of abundance, right? The flow of abundance. And it describes the component of a human being. Emotional, we spoke about it. Intellect, we spoke about it. Physical and spiritual. Let me go back. Physical.
MJ, 1 minute.
Yes, please.
1 minute. Please,
Yes, please.
most of us, our cameras are turned off. I want to re-emphasize, can we turn on our cameras? Give your speaker energy when the speaker can see the people he's talking to or she's talking to, all right? So I want to emphasize that, please, as much as we can, that's part of the rule. Please turn on your cameras. The speaker should see us. Thank you. Thank you. Many of us, yes, thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Okay, MJ, you can agree with me that that matters to you as well, right?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Short. Thank you.
It's
Go
okay,
ahead.
thank you. To operate in peak performance, you ought to be living in what I call a state of abundance or the flow of abundance. Abundance is not money. Abundance is a state of well-being where you experience peace, you experience love, you experience happiness across the different aspects of your lives. Now, peace is not the absence of storm. No, peace is not the absence of storm, right? So it means that there is storm present, but there's also a mindset about storm. The storms come and storms go. The storms are actually there to serve us, to teach us something that will propel us, right? A storm is actually a tool for your advancement. A lot of people find their passion and their purpose through storms. When you hear, oh, why did you start doing this? How did you embark on this course? You hear something negative happened in the past that triggered this level of passion or opened them up to their purpose, right? So it's a flow of peace, a flow of love, because without life, there is no love. Every life is made from a place of love. And there is no work, purpose, pursuits without love. Labor without love is stressful. Labor without love is drudgery. But labor with love is bliss. Laughter without love is mean, is cruel. But laughter with love is happiness, is joy, right? Happiness speaks to pleasure plus memories. I told you this. Pleasure without memories, temporary, leads to addiction, sadness, depression, because your hormones take you to a state of high and leaves you feeling worse off. And you need to reach for more, right? But you mostly make happiness is made through pleasurable memories. You mostly make it through shared experiences. It gets converted into a worthwhile experience. It doesn't leave you feeling guilty or reaching for an addiction, right? So I just thought to give that premise to what a flow of abundance is a state where you're operating in love, in peace, in joy, in happiness, in satisfaction, right? And it is centered on these 4 pillars. Your emotional well-being. It speaks, like I said, to your feelings and your relationships. Your mental well-being speaks to your intellect. Your physical well-being speaks to your physical fitness, right? And your spiritual well-being speaks to your faith. Let me say one more thing about our souls, where our intellect and our emotions reside. Have you seen today a colleague, I had a meeting at the ministry with one of the special advisors of one of the ministries. And I went there with some lady and, she just started talking. I told her I needed to head back. I just got in not too long anyways. I needed to head back. It was getting late. And she said, what are you rushing back for? I said, a training on peak performance. And she said, oh my God, we need you to come train us. And I said, oh, the conversation started. And she started telling me of this guy in her office who is a high performer. He's such a high performer, she said. But she said his relationships, he said everybody complains about him. He said everybody is complaining about him. The head of finance was fired, and they needed a replacement. And she thought he would be a very good fit. Everybody thought he would be a very good fit, but for his behavior, his emotional side is suffering. There is no EI. His relationship with people is bad, but he's competent on his job. What happens in such a case is that you find out that when important decisions are being made, people don't want you in the room. You talk too much. That person talks too much, behaves anyhow. Or carried it by the trauma, things have happened in their lives and there's a ceiling on that person's growth. There's a ceiling on your growth because you get to a certain age, people will wonder when you open your mouth, they'll say, where have you been? What's going on with you? Who have you been relating with? Les Brown said, when you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are and where you have been. Do you see? That speaks to your EI, your emotional. So some of you are struggling and trying to hit it. Look at your networks. Look at your relationships. Look, sometimes it's not about your capacity or your competence. You might be doing great, but this other aspect is suffering. So self-awareness actually causes you to identify what is suffering and, move on and fix it fast. I decided to talk about Steve Jobs because Steve Jobs is well known for his high level of self-awareness. I was listening to him speak to Harvard students, well, of course, before he passed, and he was telling them of his life. And he said of how he started, Apple, of course, in a garage until it grew to this, one of the biggest companies in Africa. In one of the biggest companies in the world. I'm so particular about Africa. One of the biggest companies in the world. And it grew to the point where people could take decisions without him. And of course, I'm sure you know Steve Jobs' story. He was fired. He was fired from his own baby, from his company that he grew by himself. And he said it was a dark few months. I was surprised when he said dark few months. I said, what? He was fired from Apple, and he said it was a dark few months. This is the scenario I gave of people saying, my father used to be rich. That's the end of their lives. They are not coming back from it. Everybody knows. See, type Steve Jobs, self-awareness. Steve Jobs bounced back, started another company called Pixar. Pixar is one of the top animation companies in the world. Apple had to come back to him to approach him to say, come, we need to incorporate Pixar into Apple, and we need you to come in as CEO. That's what a heightened level of awareness is. And Steve Jobs, when he's speaking, he'll tell you that he knows his strength. He understands that his strength is a visionary person. And he's also a marketer, but he knows his weaknesses. He said he's weak in areas like managing people. He's also weak in interpersonal skills. So he doesn't really like to interact with people. So he knows who to push to do that. So he leverages his self-awareness and surrounds himself with individuals that complement his strengths and compensate his weaknesses, right? So you have people that work with him, people like Steve Wozniak, people like Tim Cook. That's a very strategic approach. So it makes him live in, it makes him a high performer across areas of his life. I have another case study here of a woman. Oh, I wrote, oh, he's known for his level of awareness. Yeah. Let's move on. Oprah. Oprah is another queen. In fact, she teamed up with Arthur Brooks to write the book called The Science of Happiness, and it was bestseller. New York, the Times bestseller, right? It was a bestseller. It was a top #1. Oprah is the queen of self-awareness. Oprah. She exemplifies it. I remember listening to her one time speak on personal branding. And she was saying, how can your brand be different from who you are? And she said, no, that's falsehood. It's not sustainable. Building a brand that does not speak to your values. These people understand self-awareness and they use it to grow their businesses. And I'm sure you say, oh, I've been talking about death. I just realized I've been talking about death and Steve Jobs is dead, right? But in fact, when I researched about Steve Jobs' death, if you go on even Wikipedia, they blame him for his death. And I'm not saying that everybody will live a long life. No. But he fell ill and he took it lightly. He didn't really want to go to the hospital. He believed in herbs. He's a spiritual man. But his spirituality is, anyways, that's story for another day, right? But I just thought to help your mind in case you're going there. But these are people who use self-awareness to build, global corporations, and not just build, they're thriving. Oprah Winfrey is one of such beautiful example, right? Beautiful case studies. So these are case studies, like I said, of people who, of how individuals and organizations can harness their self-awareness to achieve peak performance, right? How do we attain this flow of abundance? We know of the flow of abundance, but how do we attain it? This is what I call the self-awareness trajectory, right? I came up with this after a lot of deep thinking, deep diving, and study. Nick Vujicic, we must know him, everybody. He's the man who was born without arms and legs, no limbs, right? He's married now with children. I'm sure we all know Nick, right? He said, if you cannot answer the questions of who you are, of what your value is, why you are here, and where you will be going after here, he says, then you are more disabled than myself. That's what he said. Because these are the questions that give your life meaning and give you hope for what is to come after. And how do you receive these answers? It's through curiosity. And that's what I put on the first ladder. It's self-discovery. Self-discovery, curiosity. The self-discovery questions you must ask yourself, every human being at every season of your life. You must be able to answer this, know it. If you wake up from your sleep, you can answer 5 questions. Number 1, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? What am I made up of? Who am I? What is my unique configuration? Who am I? Who am I? My skills, my gifts, my talents, my vision, my not purpose, my values. Why do I like what I like? What is my personality type? These questions, some people are in business and they don't know their personality type. And they're operating like bipolar people. I'm sorry, they're happy today, the next minute they're sad. They're jumping today, the next minute they're this, they're da. They're all over the place. Their emotions are all over the place and they're stressed out. And they're able to operate in their highest and their best selves. You must sit down to ask yourself, who am I? Why do I act the way I do? Why do I like the sort of people that I do, that I like? Why? What are my value system? Intrinsic value, extrinsic value, what informed it? Right? My gifts, my skill, my passion. Who am I? Number 2, why am I here? Or before you ask that, you say, where do I come from? Where do I come from? Your source is revelational knowledge because it gives you an anchor and it helps you understand your capacity, your capability, your potential. It helps you, that level of awareness. And the third one, you say, why am I here? Why am I here speaks to the reason for my existence. Why was I born? For what cause? For what cause? Why? Remember, you're here to fulfill an assignment. So you ask yourself that. Then you say, who am I? Why am I here? Where am I coming from? What is the reason for my existence? And where am I going? Where am I going? That's the last question. That's the last question. And how do you receive these answers? Number one, through curiosity. It's the asking, the seeking, and the knocking. If you ask, you will receive. If you seek, you will find. If you knock, the doors will be open. Ask. Find it. Study. Take personality type tests. Check your value system. Sit with a professional. They're self-discovery coaches. Sit with them if you must, but you must know who you are. Remember, awareness is the foundation of every successful venture. Every purposeful venture is built on awareness. You want to be successful, you've got to be aware. The second skill to employ is introspection and evaluation. It's the observance of yourself. That every single day you sit to observe yourself and you ask yourself questions that only you can answer. Why did I think that way? When I felt that way, why did I feel? Is that the best? How should I do it next? You've got to find out, you've got to know more about yourself than anybody else. Nobody has the right to know more about you than you do yourself. Let's put it that way. The second one is self-acceptance. You cannot accept who you don't know or what you don't know. Self-acceptance. You must accept who you are. You must accept all that you have been through. You must accept all that you are currently going through, knowing that the good times and the bad times in your life are there to teach you a lesson, something. But the bad times tend to teach you more than the good times. And purpose and passion is built from acceptance. I told you, a lot of people find their purpose and passion from the things that have happened to them. And how do they find it? Is when they accept it. Because there are people who go through the same thing and they can't deal. They crash. They go into denial. Right? Acceptance. And how do you build this acceptance? Number one, you've got to learn to give yourself grace. Be kind and compassionate and empathetic to yourself. Be compassionate to yourself. Nigerians are harsh. Nigerians are angry people. Nigerians are highly volatile. You know this now. We all know this. Angry people. But we are angry about ourselves first. And if you're angry about yourself, you'll be angry about everything in the world. It will show. It will show. So be compassionate to yourself. Give yourself grace, be kind to yourself. Number two, know your capacity. Accept your strengths, accept your weaknesses, and be at peace with it. The idea of benchmarking yourself and your success against other people's successes is causing low self-esteem. It's causing desperation. It's causing anger and frustration. Remember the parable of the talents. Each man was given talents according to his capacity. It means that we were all created with different capacities. Because at the end of the day, when the person with 3 talents came and multiplied it, gave 6 talents, the person with 5 talents multiplied it and gave 10 talents, what did they get as reward? Well done, good and faithful servant. Same thing. The one with 5 talents was not better than the one with 3. Know your capacity. Accept it, right? Number 3, acceptance, very key. Be intentional about therapy. Therapy is something that is not widely accepted in Africa, in Nigeria. I said we'll keep it home, in Nigeria, because we mostly feel, and there's this stigmatization that comes from therapy, as if there's something wrong with you upstairs and you can't handle yourself. You can't, hard guy. Look at life expectancy. And now, hard guy. Young men dying. I know a young guy, he was 30. He was 30. He was jogging and collapsed. Go for therapy. Share with someone who's wise, at least, filled with good counsel. Maybe not your pastor, but I'm not giving you spiritual advice. It's not bad though. I love it. But you want practical tools, right? At the most, a coach. At coach, all right? A lot of CEOs have trauma buried in their bones. A lot of business owners have trauma buried in their bones, right? The negative energy in you needs healing so that you can operate as you at your highest and your best self, because you can. I'll tell you another tip. Get a gratitude journal. Can you do that? Just write down today. What are you grateful for? I wish we can do that exercise here. What are you grateful for today? Just today. Can you do that every single day? Before you go to bed at night, or when you wake up in the morning, or sometime during your day? Gratitude, right? So be grateful for at least 3 things that happen in your life every single day. And it gets easier with practice, and it becomes a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. Oprah lives in that lifestyle. She said, you all know that I'm crazy about gratitude. That you're able to see even the best, and that's me. I'm able to see the best things from the worst situation. I'm telling you, the worst thing has happened and I can see something beautiful. Sometimes it can be hard, it can take time. I remember when my friend Patrick died, it was so dark and dreary. But a few days later, I could see beautiful things, and everything that I saw is happening now. Everything with his wife, with the children. She's now a celebrity. They were down somewhere. Gratitude. Before you get on with the business of the day, or whilst you're in it, it fills your hormones with it just fills your body with the right hormones. It generates peace and happiness that keeps you in that flow of down. Right? That is love. You has to be the net, because if you don't love something, you won't accept it. So after acceptance comes love. And if you don't love yourself, you place a ceiling on your prosperity in the world. And people don't know this. Remember, your prosperity is tied to people. People are nature's priority. You might want to write that down. People are nature's priority. Your prosperity in the world is tied to people. You will prosper as your soul prospers. Your soul is the seat of your intellect and your emotions. Your emotions deals with your relationships, with people, right? If you don't love yourself, it's hard to love people sustainably and effectively. It's hard. That's why the Bible says, love others as you love yourself. It means that you can only love others to the degree to which you love yourself. The only way to love others effectively and sustainably is by loving yourself. And love causes you to innovate. At the heart of every development or innovation of companies, corporations around the world, even countries, what makes them industrialized is actually love. It's people that say, how do we make the lives of people better? Let's do X, Y, Z. Right? But it comes from a place of self-love. In Africa, in Nigeria, hey, I don't mean to diss government, but we have people making policies that would make the lives of people tougher. Do you know why they can do that? They don't like themselves. They're angry. The reason CEOs, and we're talking about this today, the reason people in the work environment keep other people under is because they are traumatized by what has been done to them. They served like houseboy, and I don't want to say this, but today I sat in front of some top. And you know what he was telling me? He said, you will work, you will do this work pro bono. And I'm smiling, I was sitting down and smiling at him. I was just smiling. He said, because let me tell you why. He said, before I became appointed, that's before this last political appointment, or the one before, when that administration was coming in, the former Sanwo-Olu was there. He said to me, I had worked for 1 year plus before they finally signed this thing. And he said that when they were supposed to finally give him they were supposed to backdate it, but they did not backdate it. And he said, I said, no problem. I lived with it. I worked pro bono. I built this. I did that by myself with my money. I did this. I did that with my money, by myself. I said, I did. You would do this work for free. Everything you have done, I cancel it. You're starting your 9 months contract. Hurt people hurt others. It is hard to love effectively and sustainably if you haven't loved yourself. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. The degree to which you love yourself is the degree to which you can give love to your neighbor. Right? And this is how, remember, we're talking about peak performance. Living in the flow of abundance is love. Love. You have to heal. And that's why I took it. There is healing that has to be done. There's work that has to be done. It's not just about chasing the bag. You're hitting a ceiling somewhere. You're angry. Things are not what is a knowledge, is an awareness problem. Is information. Right? So how do you love yourself? Very practically. When you love someone, what do? You're kind to them. Be kind to yourself. When you love someone, you don't want to hurt them. You don't want to use harsh words on them. Start affirming yourself. Affirm yourself. Why? How can you not say you're successful? Look at you. Look at where you're coming from. Look at the home you're building. Look at the life you're living. You've got a car, you have a house, you have this. How can you see yourself any less? Affirm yourself. Praise yourself. Write out affirmations, right? Do that. Speak kindly to yourself. Some of us beat down ourselves with deprecating words, abominable words. We deprecate ourselves. And that's why it's easy to deprecate others. It's easy to speak harshly to others because we do it to ourselves.